After the events of the first game, Samus had dealt with a major incident from her past, and for a time the galaxy had found peace. Apparently just a short time before the events of the first game, the Galactic Federation had sent a research squad to SR-388, which we know the Chozo had sent the Metroids to deal with the X. The research group had encountered the Metroid and collected a sample. The space pirates, still going strong at the time, attacked the group and stole the Metroid sample. This, then, is how the Metroids arrived on Zebes, where Mother Brain was raising them. After Samus had eradicated the pirates and Mother Brain on Zebes, the Galactic Federation sent another squad to SR-388. Seeing how large a threat they were from Samus's first mission, they wanted to make sure no Metroids remained on SR-388. Unfortunately, after their initial touchdown, contact was lost with the squad. A rescue squad was dispatched immediately. Though after their initial touchdown, contact was lost with them as well. The Federation assembled a special combat group, understanding there was a grave threat on the planet. After their initial landing on the planet, they, as well, were never heard from again. The only one so far who has been in combat with the Metroids and survived, Samus Aran, was quickly contacted and commissioned to travel to SR-388 and exterminate all Metroids. Metroid II: Return of Samus was released for the Game Boy in 1991, and was a major step forward for the Metroid series, establishing many traits and trends that the series would later be known for. It was, unfortunately, a Game Boy game. So in order to understand the original experience of the game, you need the green hue, faded pixels, dim the screen from a dying battery, and if possible, glare on the screen from a nearby lamp. Perhaps the game's greatest shortcoming is the environment you played the game in, and how that compounded some native issues. This is perhaps a bit much. Let me see if I can clean this up a bit. Welcome to Metroid II: Return of Samus, the second Metroid game on the Game Boy of all things. And despite being on the Game Boy, it's actually shockingly more advanced than the NES game. So there are 3 save slots. You cannot immediately tell what you've done or how far you've gone in any of them. But the game begins with Samus on the surface of SR-388, just after touchdown. This is the first game to do a number of things, the first of which is depict Samus's ship, since obviously we didn't know what Samus's ship looked like in the NES game. And here we actually see the ship, and this is the iconic design that's going to continue being used pretty much forever. We also have a much more detailed look at Samus's armor and power suit, instead of the more cartoony appearance that we had in the NES game. And on top of that, we start out with the long beam. We no longer have to worry about that. We can shoot forever. There does not appear to be an immediate limit to how many shots can be on screen, but it also seems like it's hard for me to get more than 3 of them on the screen, as your sprite is much larger than it was. This is kind of a common thing with the hand console games at the time. And even some Super Nintendo games, when that came about, was giving characters much, much larger sprites. This was not only to show off the power of the machine, because hey, you look at this big cool thing running around, but also they were like, hey, look at this detail. We actually have it. A few other things. You start with the Morph Ball, so we don't have to worry about that. You do not have bombs, however. Morph Ball is it. You do have 30 missiles, which you can change to with the Select button. And you can duck! Not only can you duck, but you can also aim up and down. Which, you could aim up, of course, in the NES game, but you could not aim down. So just right out of the gate, not only do you have a larger, far more detailed, interesting design for the character, but also you have a lot more control than you had before. No longer do you have to worry about an enemy very slowly moving towards you. No wall jumping or anything yet. You can go inside the ship, where if you walk to the left and right, there is an energy and missile recharge. We will probably not be coming back to the ship very often, though. I want to test something. Okay, it does look like if you fall beyond... This is the same thing the NES game did. It does look like if you fall beyond the distance where you would have landed, you unspin automatically, which is a little frustrating. But hey, we've landed on SR-388. Let's go to town. Look at the environmental detail, too. Like, for being a Game Boy game, they pushed a lot to get this done. Especially in comparison to just the previous game. Look at this, we have vertical and horizontal scrolling on one screen. Crazy. And this music. The music and the sound effects, I feel like, are really iconic. So there are different screens, as you can see. You can pan through that way. Now, one thing that I believe they did was they went a little power mad, I guess, with, hey, we can scroll in any direction and do whatever we want to do. But doing that also leads to some unbelievably complicated, convoluted maps that don't even line up correctly with each other. So we'll see a number of times that it's kind of difficult to have a proper map of this game, because a number of sections will overlap each other, and what have you. Now, one thing, I did not point this out in the original NES Metroid, but it is something very important that they did, which is many of the games at the time relied on regular horizontal scrolling. They were just action platformers like Mario, where you would run by and run left to right. That's all you did. Where do you go? To the right. That's how you progress. And Metroid had to very quickly subdue this. So there's a way to, like, do something up here. Ow. So, Metroid, being very explorative, had to very quickly undo this. Yay! You can go in here. Is there a reason for that? Speedrun strats, I guess. And that is exactly why, if you simply progress straight to the left when starting Metroid, there is a dead end that you cannot progress past. You have to go then back to the left in order to find the Morph Ball. A very basic mode of travel to get you around. And you will see most Metroid games do something like this. And this is honestly good game design. You don't, at this point, you don't need to necessarily point out that this is the kind of game that you need to go, that you cannot just go left to right in, because we have our standards now and they've been upset. But you will still see something done, and we cannot progress further. This stuff hurts, by the way. Don't stand in it. say as I jump in it. But you will see something like this at the beginning of most Metroid games, in order to set the tone and the pace of the game. And similarly, that's something they did in this game. And you can see that right here, where you're going to the right and you quickly hit a dead end. You've had to explore a little bit to get this far, going up and around, so you know this won't be a strictly left-to-right game. But also, you get here where you're given a choice, an immediate choice of left to right. You fall down here and you can see that there is a potential path to the left. And if you go to the right, of course, you hit a dead end. So not only are we told now that you will be given choices as to where to go, but you will be required to return to some areas once you've done something somewhere else. And that something else is just this way. The only other way we have to go right now. Now, compared to the NES Metroid, Metroid II is a bit more linear. And I do not have any actual research, any personal research on this, but I remember, so I should say rumor has it, because I do not actually, I've not done my own research to back this up, but rumor has it that the Metroid games have never done as well in Japan. Because Japan, the culture in Japan generally preferred much more linear structured games, not the kind of free exploration that you got in many Metroid games. And that may have been something that they took from the first Metroid game, and in Metroid 2 then, made the adventure as a whole just a little more structured. And what have we come here to find but a Metroid? Thankfully, it goes down fairly easily to a number of missiles. I am the Metroid now. And this is something that we... Ooh. So killing a Metroid now causes the rumble, and otherwise we've met a dead end. That refills health, this refills missiles. All you have to do is overlap them and you're good. And we've come to this planet to exterminate the Metroids, and the first thing we find is what looks like a traditional Metroid that we saw in the NES game. And that is only its initial shell. It broke out into something a bit more dangerous looking, let's say. Which may explain why a number of the groups from before, recon groups before, never came back, of which there are 3 of them lost on this planet. So, for the record, I have played Metroid 2 before, but I think I've beaten it, but it was a very, very, very long time ago. I'll tell the story about that another time. However, there have been 2 more recent remakes of the game. Between the Metroid 2... what is it? Is it just Samus Returns or something? It's the recent one on the 3DS. And the just before that one, AM2R. Between the 2 of them, I think I have mentioned... Oh, this is a save point, by the way. It does not refill your health. At least I don't think it does. And while of the 2 of them, I do personally prefer AM2R. Samus Returns is also... I'm going to call it that because I don't remember what else it's called. Remember, there was lava in here. Not anymore. And here, there is not. Oh, you're funky looking. Meh. Meh. Got a lot of health, too. So these guys just fall? That what they do? I can shoot them. Okay. So AM2R is a very faithful remake, whereas Samus Returns is more of a reimagining. But if you want to play something very close to the original Metroid II, but not have to deal with the archaic Game Boy, then AM2R is probably the choice for you. By the way, if you're looking for a playthrough of AM2R, I have one on this channel, so this is not going to be the first time we've seen Metroid II on this channel. So the lava is back. And so we've learned already, though, that this means we need to go kill some Metroids. Hey. Killing some Metroids, then, will likely lower the lava. Stand back, you start swinging wide. So Metroid II is divided into zones or areas. The different remakes all have different names for them. But the idea is you go into one, and it's a small area where you have free reign to explore and do what you want as you want. And once you have killed all of the Metroids in the area, the lava lowers, allowing you to go to the next area. And that's the general progression of the game, I suppose you could say. Each one does have its own theme, though also a major problem with the Game Boy Metroid, with Metroid 2, is that generally everything looks the same. And this is mostly due to the lack of a palette and the fact that the game still has to be tile-based at the end of the day. So it's very, very easy to get lost. It's a similar problem to the NES Metroid, just for a different reason. But now we have made it proper into the first area. I'm going to walk my way over here, because there is a save point. And I'm going to say, until next time, everyone, when we move into what is technically the second area.